Dear students, we have come to the last part of the story Karma. Open your books. If you remember, Sir Mohanlal had been lost in a train of thought. He was thinking about his sojourn in England, and he also came to the conclusion that the 5 years that he had spent in England was much more fruitful, more glorious than the 45 years spent in India. This man was hopelessly an Anglophile. He was obsessed with England and he looked upon England as his motherland. He had nothing but disdain for his countrymen. He had nothing but dislike for his own country. And ultimately, Sir Mohanlal had to face the music. He had to face the consequences. Let us find out why. Sir Mohanlal entered the train compartment, the first class coupe, but he was rather disappointed to find that no English man was his co-passenger. The compartment was empty. So he took out an old copy of the Times and started reading it. Sir Mohanlal looked out of the window down the crowded platform. His face lit up as he saw two English soldiers trudging along. Lit up, lit is the past form of light. To light up, that means his face became bright. Why did his face become bright? When does a person's face become bright? When a person is happy. Why was Sir Mohanlal happy? Because he saw two English soldiers trudging along. To trudge means to walk slowly and with difficulty. Dhire dhire aste aste hata. Two English soldiers were trudging along looking in all the compartments for room. Here room means space, jaiga. The train was overcrowded. These two English soldiers were not officers. They were just common soldiers. So they were not entitled to travel first class. They had to travel interclass or second class. And all the compartments of the train were overcrowded. So they were looking into each compartment for space. Room means space. They had their haversacks slung behind their backs and walked unsteadily. Haversack. Haversack means a big bag that contains many things. Generally mountaineers, soldiers use this kind of bag. পর্বতারোহী সৈনিকরা এই ধরনের ব্যাগ ব্যবহার করে. These were slung behind their backs. Slung is the past participle of sling. To sling means to hang. So it was hung behind their backs. They walked unsteadily. They did not walk properly. They were walking unsteadily. Perhaps they were under the influence of wine. So they were walking unsteady. They were drunk. Sir Mohan decided to welcome them. But Sir Mohanlal was so obsessed with Englishmen that he decided to welcome these two drunk English soldiers. এই দুজন মাতাল ইংরেজ সৈন্য এদেরকেই তিনি ডেকে নেবেন ঠিক করলেন. They were no scholars, they were no great men, they were not army officers, they were just ordinary drunk soldiers. But Sir Mohanlal decided to welcome them because they were English. Such was his obsession with Englishmen. Even though they were entitled to travel only second class. As I have already told you, these two English soldiers were not officers, so they were not entitled. To be entitled to something, that means to be fit to, যোগ্য হওয়া. They were not fit to travel first class. They had been provided with second class pass, and Sir Mohanlal was a first class passenger. So how can he welcome them? He would speak to the guard. Sir Mohanlal decided that he would speak to the guard. Sir Mohanlal was an influential man, so if he spoke to the guard, if he spoke on the behalf of the English soldiers, the guard would relent. The guard তার কথা শুনবে. He would allow the English soldiers to travel first class, though they did not have first class ticket. One of the soldiers came up to the last compartment and stuck his face through the window. To stick one's face through the window means to push the face through it. জানলার মধ্যে দিয়ে মুখ বাড়িয়ে দেওয়া. That means in those days there were no bars on windows. কোনো গরাদ থাকতো না. So anyone could stick his face through the window. He surveyed the compartment. To survey means to make an examination of, to examine. He examined the compartment and noticed the unoccupied berth. Berth means seat. In a train compartment there are berths, upper berth, middle berth, lower berth. In this case there were two berths. It was a first class coupe. One berth was occupied by Sir Mohanlal and the other berth was unoccupied, empty. No one sat there. So this empty berth attracted the attention of one of the soldiers. Bill, he shouted, one earl. Now you understand that these two Englishmen, they were uneducated. They did not belong to the educated class of Englishmen. Actually, in those days, the educated Englishmen rarely came to India. A professor of Oxford University did not come to India. Oxford অধ্যাপক ভারতে আসতো না. Why should he come? He has enough education to earn a living in England. But who came to India? Uneducated people, people who had no sophistication, who could not get any job in England, they came here. For example, take the case of Clive, Robert Clive. Robert Clive was just class 8 pass. He had not matriculated even. And he was working as a clerk in the British East India Company in London. And he had a very meager salary. খুব অল্প টাকা মাইনে পেত Clive. So his father said, what are you doing here? Go to India. So Clive came to India and here Clive became Lord Clive. The man who was just a clerk in the British East India Company became Lord. যে লোকটা একটা কেরানি ছিল ইস্ট ইন্ডিয়া কোম্পানি, সেখানে লর্ড ক্লাইভ হয়ে গেল. He defeated Sirajudaulla, he became the governor of Bengal, he did this, he did that. So you understand what kind of people came here. So these two English soldiers belong to that lot. One of them said, Bill, that means he was calling Bill. One that means there is one unoccupied seat. This is colloquial English, cholti English. His companion came up, also looked at Sir Mohanlal. Now Bill, his companion, now he came up. He looked into the compartment and he found Sir Mohanlal. Get the nigger out, he muttered to his companion. Now the word nigger is actually a very despicable term. It is a derogatory term, an insulting word. এটা একটা অপমানজনক কথা. In America, the whites called the black people nigger. They called the Negroes nigger. কালো মানুষদের আমেরিকায় শ্বেতাঙ্গরা nigger বলে. So get the nigger out. That means to all Englishmen, all Indians are niggers because of the complexion of the body. তাদের গায়ের রং. They are not as white as the English. So every Indian is a nigger. Actually nigger means a black Negro, an inhabitant of America. আসলে আমেরিকার কালো মানুষদেরই Negro বলে, and the derogatory term is nigger. But here the English soldier Bill muttered to his companion. Muttered means said in a low voice, get the nigger out. That means kick the nigger out of this compartment. They opened the door and turned to the half smiling, half protesting Sir Mohan. Now just think of Sir Mohanlal. This man had called him a nigger. It is a derogatory term, an insulting term. Instead of being angry, Sir Mohanlal was still smiling and he was protesting also. He was protesting. He was trying to make them understand that he was not an ordinary Indian. He was above the ordinary Indians. So he was half smiling, half protesting. Reserved, yelled Bill. To yell means to shout. Bill, one of the English soldiers, had still some sense. Though he was drunk, he noticed that it was a reserved compartment. It was a first class compartment, it was reserved. That means it would be illegal to enter it. ভেতরে ঢোকাটা কিন্তু বেআইনি হবে because it was reserved. So this video comes to an end. I will upload another one.